Another face of the WNBA injured. This time, it's Sophie Cunningham. Does the league have another Draymond Green on its hands? Are refs to blame? Can the league handle this booming sport? I'm Doug Kezirian. This is Hard Pass, also available at podcast. Is the WNBA even capable of properly running its league and protecting its product? To be fair, this question has been an unnecessary and unwarranted low-hanging fruit at times, and haters love bashing the league whenever they get a chance, for no reason, mind you. We all know that. But with that being said, this latest incident does raise some legitimate questions across the board. The officiating is still a major issue, with another star going down with injury. One of the league's faces, Sophie Cunningham, is done for the season. And all this comes with rumblings of racial tensions between players. So this is how it all went down. Connecticut's Bria Hartley falls into Cunningham's right leg. Cunningham tears her MCL. Now this image has gone viral. It's a snapshot of Hartley smiling, but is she really smiling or is it a grimace? And this pic is an unfair frame. Again, just a frame in the heat of the moment as Hartley's falling to the ground and rolling over. Now, with that being said, in a vacuum, I would defend the incriminating image because it just feels bogus and framed of the frame. But this is also a player who always finds a fracas or is chirping with opponents. And it's another example of the black player in this league involved in an incident with a white player. Could be coincidence, but it's worth mentioning. Plus, remember the Sun and Fever had that incident earlier in the summer, which led to Cunningham's explosion in popularity, where she came to the defense of Caitlin Clark, her teammate. Hartley kind of reminds me of Draymond Green. Already 2 ejections this season. She also has the second most technical fouls this year in the entire WNBA. Remember, she's the player who intentionally pulled Angel Reese's hair. Now that was no accident. Now, following this most recent injury for Cunningham, her sister and mom each tweeted, "Sister Lindsay, maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic, praying for you." Of course, that's in response to Cunningham getting a few fines recently for calling out the poor officiating, like on TikTok and things like that. Cunningham's mom, Paula: "Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control." Now, Sophie, on her own podcast, somewhat cleared the air and explained why she got her mom to delete that tweet.
There was no ill intent. I think it was basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like, there's no way that she would go in there and intentionally try to hurt me. And so, I had nothing but love for Bria. And I even told my mom, because she tweeted something. I was like, "No, Mom, I get it. But I promise you that I was like, Bria and I are super cool. And she would never try to hurt me." Because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so, I have nothing but love. And so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat, because I don't think she meant to do that at all.
Good to see Cunningham in pretty positive spirits, all things considered. So, are we at all capable of viewing this in a vacuum, or has Hartley lost that right given her track record, so to speak? Well, sometimes in life you are guilty of who you are and not exactly what you have done in this incident. I'm not saying it's Al Capone being busted for tax evasion, but it's along those lines. And that's the reason Hartley, in my eyes, reminds me of Draymond Green. Now, these plays, such as the one who took out Cunningham, may not be intentional, right? But they are reckless, and players should be held accountable. Draymond often gets away with stuff because he's always flailing and things like that. Yeah, maybe not intentional, but other players don't do that. They can control their recklessness, so he's not entirely innocent, and I don't think Hartley is either. And once you accumulate this type of stuff, there should be more severe penalties. As you would imagine, this generated some reaction on social media, so it's time for a heat check. Michael, who's clearly a Fever fan based on his avatar and account, he's tweeting to all those defending Bria Hartley, "Look at what she liked on Instagram. In my opinion, she's dirtiest player in the league and should be kicked out." Most recently, Sophie Cunningham has been hurt with the knee tear and is out for the season. And that Instagram pic was a collage of her incidents. She liked that fact that she was getting a reputation indirectly or whatever. You can connect some dots. Not exactly a smoking gun. specifically for the injury to Cunningham. How about this tweet from Truth in Bites? Hashtag black fatigue is strong in the WNBA as the Indiana Fever announced Sophie Cunningham will miss the remainder of the season after the racist thug Bria Hartley intentionally took her out. Now, it's important to mention this Twitter account has no credibility, not a member of the media, but the comment does represent a common perception throughout the league. Casual or even diehard fans do think there's tension between white and black players. Plus, officiating has been questioned by every team. Sometimes the domino effect is reckless play. It happens in the NBA as well. But we already have two major injuries with the Fever. Cunningham out for the season and Caitlin Clark, who's been injured multiple times, and all that may attribute to bad officiating. They can't control the game and the physicality is too much. So it raises the question, can the WNBA handle this? As I've said before, there are only a handful of stars in WNBA that truly matter. The league is still relatively young. In my opinion, would not survive without the biggest names, specifically Caitlin Clark. It just wouldn't. Now, I like the product. I've liked it for a long time. I hosted studio shows a decade ago at ESPN, but the masses only seem to care about the big names. Either way, officiating is a key component to having a quality product. A $2.2 billion TV deal is about to kick in. But is the league ready for this spotlight to grow even larger? Let me know your thoughts. Join the conversation in the comments section. Am I being too critical? Are these just isolated incidents, coincidence or not? What about Bria Hartley? Do you think she actually is somewhat of a goon or targeting certain players? I personally think it'd be too hard to contort your body as you fall down, target Sophie Cunningham's knee, especially when they are friends or friendly, as Cunningham put it. So I think it's a little much, but you've lost that luxury of getting the benefit of the doubt if you are someone that's also intentionally done things that are dirty, like pull Angel Reese's hair or chirping at other opponents. If you're known as that and you have a reputation of that and you like Instagram posts that do that, you can't have it both ways. Let me know your thoughts, whether you agree or not. Would love to hear your opinion. Time now for Fans in the Stands, and this is when we acknowledge and respond to some of the comments in the most recent episode here on YouTube. And it's also a chance to remind you to please like and subscribe to the channel. It's our currency in this new YouTube world. And we genuinely want you to comment and let us know what you like or dislike about the show, suggestions, good or bad. Of course, constructive criticism is always welcome. And just any random questions, too, that even don't pertain to the most recent episode. But the first comment here is from Mark Preston, talking about the WNBA MVP race. Voter fatigue is absolutely a thing. Agreed. Collier odds are now at a playable price. Haha. If Asia doesn't win the MVP, she's going to have a strong case for Defensive Player of the Year. Great call again, Doug, on hopping on Nakase about 2 weeks ago, for Coach of the Year. So I think Collier's going to win. Remember, last year, Asia Wilson was unanimous selection for MVP. That's why I think there is voter fatigue. She's won this award 3 times. Collier is not won it at all. In fact, in the WNBA, over the past 25 years, there's never been a back-to-back MVP. It's just human nature in all sports for voters to want someone else to win, especially someone new like Collier. But again, we didn't see that in the NFL with Lamar Jackson and the MVP against Josh Allen. So that's something to keep in mind. But yes, I did like Natalie Nakase a couple weeks ago. I still like her at any plus money price to win Coach of the Year. PD6189 says, I agree. Collier will be the likely winner for all the reasons you've stated. The questions raised by her injury are what makes the race intriguing to me. When will she return? How effective will she be? If these questions weren't involved, she'd still be the massive favorite despite the stellar play of Alyssa Thomas, that is, and Wilson. Personally, I think Wilson is the MVP who, like Jokic in the NBA, will suffer via voter fatigue. Yeah, I mean, look, when you do these awards, as I mentioned in the last episode, any award in any sport, you have to handicap the actual voters, the human element, not just the human element of performance on the court, because there are narratives that certainly apply. I don't think Alyssa Thomas is going to get there. I actually think Asia Wilson should be the second favorite, not AT. Wilson and the Aces just keep on rolling, and she is the best player in my eyes. But Collier, those missed games are interesting. She has 7 missed games so far. That's the most any eventual MVP winner has missed in WNBA history. Now, this is a longer season, so it's a smaller slice of the pie, but when's she going to return? How effective will she be? Will she return and then go back to missing a couple games once the Lynx clinch that #1 seed? Very interesting, but she's the best player on the best team in the regular season. She's never won the award. It's hard to see her not winning it, but how much is too big of a price? Minus 300, minus 350. That's all part of the equation and does make this quite interesting. I think that's a really interesting part about Mark Preston, that if A'ja Wilson does not get MVP, she's going to likely win Defensive Player of the Year. Again, the voters, the human element, just like to spread out all their votes and kind of like everybody gets a trophy or everyone gets an award in terms of all the good teams or all the good players. Just part of the equation. It's something to keep in mind as you look at some of those wagers, or just a fan wondering who's going to win these races with less than a month to go in the regular season. So that's going to do it for this edition of Hard Pass. We always appreciate you tuning in. Again, like and subscribe, please. We really appreciate it. We want to encourage you to join the conversation. Let us know your thoughts on the episode or any other questions or comments about anything else. We welcome it all.